They are so creepy, my friend Melanie squeals. She's examining my dad's expansive collection of dolls that takes up nearly his entire office. Jokingly, I question with a smile, "What? What do you mean?" Shocked, she asks, "You're kidding, right? Tell me you're kidding." I remain silent for a moment, then burst into laughter and admit, "I'm totally kidding. These things are super creepy." My dad's been collecting haunted dolls since I was a little girl, so I've gotten used to having them around, but they still give me the heebie-jeebies. My name's Sadie and I'm 16 years old. For as long as I can remember, my dad's been infatuated with scary stuff, mainly places and things that are haunted. Since I was about 5 years old, he's been bringing these dolls home. He's a paranormal investigator. For those of you who aren't familiar with what they do, they investigate locations that are supposedly haunted by ghosts. He works with a team of 3 other investigators, and he's actually out working a new case right now. Apparently, lots of people seem to think that their dolls are haunted by an evil spirit, which is the reason our house is now full of them. Whenever Dad wraps up a case, if his clients tell him that they want to get rid of the doll, then he brings it home with him. Dad once told me that normally nothing even happens when he's out on a case. Usually, the clients are either paranoid or crazy, or sometimes both. Most of the time, they only find evidence that the house is old, not haunted. The sounds people claim to be hearing are just the consequences of choosing to live in an old, outdated house. But there have been a few cases where Dad believes something was really going on, like when he went to investigate for the Riley family. I was just a little girl at the time, but I remember the terrified look on his face when he brought home Clementine. He locked her away in a separate room away from all of the other dolls. I thought it was kind of strange, so being the curious little girl that I was, I asked him about it. He wouldn't tell me much, but what I do remember is him staring at me from across the dinner table with a very stern look and warning me to never go into that room without his permission. I never did, but that didn't stop Clementine from coming out. I remember right around my 9th birthday, Dad had to go out of town for work. He was going to be gone for a few days, so we hired a babysitter, some teenage girl from the neighborhood who babysat me before. I think her name was Stacy. Anyways, one night, before it was time for bed, we were playing hide and seek. She sat on the living room couch and counted while I went to hide. I roamed around the house looking for the perfect hiding place. Then I found it. I could still hear Stacy counting from the living room. She was at 17. So I quickly climbed inside of the coat closet in the hallway next to the front door and then closed the door as quietly as I could. I could faintly hear Stacy shouting, "Ready or not, here I come," just as I made my way to the very back and sat down cross-legged. Then I waited and waited and waited until I hear the sound of the door creaking open. Then I wait another moment for Stacy to actually find me. The coats hanging from the rod above me shake and I hear tiny little footsteps. Suddenly the door closes again, leaving me back in complete darkness. I shiver, then pull my robe tighter around me and hide my face inside of it. Then I hear Stacy walk past the closet calling my name. "Sadie, where are you? I've looked everywhere. I give up. You can come out now." I'm just about to get up and come out of my hiding place when I hear someone whisper my name. It's coming from right here inside of the closet. I trip over Dad's shoes as I race to the door and frantically twist the knob. I'm locked inside. I bang and yell for Stacy. I start to cry when she can't get the door open from the other side either. Then the voice calls out,
"Sadie, I found you."
I scream louder. It felt like I was stuck in there for an hour with the creepy voice calling my name and asking me again and again,
"Do you want to be my friend?"
But it could have been minutes. Finally, I tell them yes, I'll be your friend if you get me out of here. Then the whispers stop. Stacy has to take the knob off to get me out. When she does, I bolt out of the closet, and lying there on top of a pile of Dad's shoes is Clementine, with her pale porcelain skin and faded yellow dress. Her lips, which are usually pressed firmly together, look different now. The left side of her chipped red lips tugs slightly upward, creating a sinister smirk. Her cold, dark eyes are fixated on mine. Stacy bends down and picks her up. "How did you get out here?" Then she turns to me. Sadie, were you playing with her again? You know she's not a toy. I wasn't. I swear I wasn't. Just as she turns to walk down the hall and lock her back into her glass case in Dad's office, Clementine winks at me. She'd always given me the creeps before, but that was the moment I became absolutely terrified of her. And pretty much every other doll that Dad brought home after that has scared the crap out of me. Strange things are always going on around here. Dad thinks I'm just being paranoid, but I know it's Clementine. Nothing traumatizing like that ever happened again, but for a while I had the feeling that she was following me because she's always turning up in places that she's not supposed to be. The case Dad's working on now is another one that involves a haunted doll. He won't be back until tomorrow, which is why Melanie is spending the night with me. I refuse to be alone in the house with the dolls, and I'm too old for a babysitter now. I close the door and we head toward the kitchen to get a snack before we go back to my room to work on our homework. I hang the key to Dad's office up on the key rack near the front door and then follow Melanie to the fridge. She pulls out 2 cans of orange soda and then I grab a bag of Doritos from the cabinet. What are we going to eat for dinner, she asks. My dad left me some money so we can order pizza. Hawaiian, she says, smiling from ear to ear. I nod my head, of course. That's been her favorite food for as long as I've known her. I wasn't interested in pineapple on pizza before she introduced me to it. It just never sounded good to me. But ever since I tried it, that's the only kind I eat, except for on occasion when Dad complains that he's tired of it. Then we switch it up and order pepperoni instead. Melanie and I met when I joined Girl Scouts in the 5th grade. I didn't want to join, but Dad forced me to. He said it'd be a great way to make new friends, which I'd been having trouble doing ever since my mom passed away. Melanie and I clicked right away. I think it was mainly because she was being raised by a single dad too. I'm not really sure what happened to her mom. She doesn't like to talk about her, but she did tell me that she's not dead. Once we get back to my room, I plop down on my bed and Melanie sits at my desk. I rip open the bag of Doritos and crack open my soda, then take a gulp. We start to work on our chemistry homework. I answer the first question and then glance at Melanie when we move on to question 2. She's not focused on what we're doing. She's been acting like this all day at school too. So I ask her, what's going on with you today? She lets out a long breath. Nothing. Come on, Mel, I've known you since we were 10. What's wrong? She sits there quiet for another minute, but I persist. Come on, tell me, what's the matter? Then she finally replies, my mom wants to see me. She keeps calling my dad, saying that she wants to spend time with me so that she can get to know me. How do you feel about that? I think it's stupid. I'm 17 years old. Why all of a sudden does she just now want to get to know me? I think it's too damn late for all of that. I want nothing to do with her. But my dad says I'm being selfish. She's the one who left us when I was a little girl. How am I being selfish? I rise from the bed and walk over to my desk. Then I wrap my arms around her and give her a big hug. I'm sorry. Hey, it's okay if you don't want to talk about it, but I always wondered what happened to your mom. You never talk about her. She left. She just up and left me and my dad when I was 2, and she ran away. We found out a few years later that she moved to Missouri, got married, and had another kid. I have a little brother that I've never even met. But what pisses me off the most is the fact that she left us, but her and her husband are still happily together. What was wrong with me that she felt she had to leave me behind, but then she goes off and has another kid? I stand there in shock. I didn't expect her story about her mom to be so deep. I thought maybe her parents split up and had an ugly custody battle where she wasn't allowed to see her mom anymore or something like that. Do you think your dad is going to make you see her? He better not. She wants me to come to Missouri for Thanksgiving so that I can meet my brother. I mean, I'd like to meet him, but like I said, I want nothing to do with her, she angrily answers. Just as I'm about to reply, we hear creaking coming from down the hall. We look at each other. Is your dad back? I thought you said he wasn't coming home until tomorrow. He's not, I answer. She stands up and grabs a hold of my arm, and I snatch the first thing my eyes come across that could be used as a weapon, a selfie stick sitting on the floor next to my bed. We creep toward the open door and then step into the dark hallway. Of course, the light switch is all the way at the other end of the hall. The house is dead silent besides the sound of the grandfather clock ticking coming from the living room. We tiptoe down the hallway. "What were you doing in my office?" Dad questions, scaring Mel and I half to death. I lower the selfie stick. "Dad, you scared the crap out of us. What are you doing home? I thought you were going to be gone until tomorrow." "Change of plans. Now what were you doing in my office?" he asks again. Damn, I must have forgot to lock the door when we were in there earlier. For a split second, I think about lying, but Dad can always tell when I am. "I just wanted to show Mel the dolls," I admit. "You know I don't want you in there without my permission. You could have waited until I got home to take her in there." "Sorry," I whisper. That's when I notice the new doll that he's brought home. It's a boy this time, which we don't have very many of. It's hanging from Dad's hand by its left arm as limply as a dead squirrel. One of its eyes remains closed while the other lazily winks repeatedly, flashing the scratched blue iris beneath. It looks as though its hair has been trimmed by a pair of child safety scissors with patches missing here and there. The doll's face is old and cracked in various places. My eyes keep shifting back to his. Dad lifts the doll into the air for me to get a better look. His name is Darwin. I glance at him and think to myself, you're not as creepy looking as some of the others, but you're still creepy. He's wearing a dingy faded black suit with one dress shoe, the other is missing. If it weren't for the malevolent smirk, he looks like he may have actually been considered cute at one point in time. Dad grabs the key to the office from the key rack and heads there to add Darwin to the collection. He didn't seem as creepy as some of the others, Mel says once he's gone. Yeah, I guess not. When he returns, we're sitting in the kitchen looking over the pizza menu. Dad asks if Melanie is still staying the night or does she want him to drive her home after dinner. She tells him she'll stay and go home in the morning. Dad calls in our order and decides he'll pick it up instead of having it delivered. A little while later, he knocks on my bedroom door and tells me that he'll be back in about 40 minutes. I follow him to the front door and set the alarm because Mel and I are going to stay here. We want to try to finish up our chemistry homework before he gets back. Mel is in a better mood now, so we breeze through the worksheet we need to get done. Hey, my dad should be back any minute now with the pizza. Why don't we pick a movie to watch, I suggest. So we head to the living room and browse through Netflix. Once we decide on a movie, Melanie plops down on the couch while I grab some paper plates and drinks from the kitchen. Just as I'm heading back to the living room, Melanie screams, startling me, and the pile of paper plates go flying everywhere. I dash over to the couch. What happened? She's now standing and pointing at the couch in horror. I slowly lift the blanket she was covered up with, expecting to see a spider go darting across the cushion, but that's not what I find. Beneath the blanket is Darwin. I thought your dad locked him in his office. I thought so too. I pick him up by his arm, carry him over to the island, and place him there. That's when I realize something. You know what? I bet my dad acted like he put him in his office, but he really left him on the couch to try to scare us. Well, it worked, Mel replies, laughing. I nearly crapped myself when his cold little hand brushed up against my leg. As we sit back down on the couch and get settled, Dad comes back. I disarm the alarm and open the door to let him inside. I have an annoyed look on my face. What did I do? You scared the crap out of Mel. I don't know what you mean. Darwin? I reply, raising my eyebrows. What about Darwin? He asks as he places the pizza boxes on top of the island. That's when he notices the doll lying there. You went back into my office? What did I just tell you about that? Dad, just stop. It's not funny. You know we weren't in your office. He points at the doll. Well, then how did he get back out here? Cut it out. This isn't funny. Sadie, if you don't tell me the truth, then I'm going to have to punish you, he firmly says. I look him dead in the eyes, and I can tell he's serious. My heart begins to beat out of my chest, and tears well up in my eyes. Dad, I swear we didn't go back in your office. Melanie found him lying on the couch. She nearly sat on him. It scared her half to death. We thought you put him there trying to scare us. He glances at her, and she nods her head in agreement. He apologizes, then snatches the doll and heads back down the hall toward his office. When he returns, his face is extremely pale. I ask him what's wrong. The weirdest thing just happened. He pauses for a minute, then continues. When I just took Darwin into my office to lock him back up, Clementine was out of her case. I continue to eat my slice of pizza. As creepy as it sounds, it's not the first time. It happens more often than I care to admit, but the timing coinciding with the arrival of Darwin is pretty eerie. She was sitting in my desk chair, and there were maggots crawling from her eyes. I drop my pizza back onto the plate and gag on the piece that's in my mouth. Dad, really? That's disgusting. Melanie and I follow him back down the hall to see for ourselves. The door is standing wide open. You didn't lock it? I thought I did. I must have forgot. When we step inside, Clementine is right where she's supposed to be, locked in her glass case, and Darwin is lying on the floor at the bottom of it. Dad picks him up, unlocks the case, and places him inside next to Clementine. I glance at the case, and as a chill runs down my spine, I ask, "Are you sure you locked it?" Dad double-checks the lock, then nods his head. I look around at all of the other dolls lined up on the bookcases. They all seem to be stalking me. Each time I move, their eyes follow me around the room. The three of us head back to the kitchen to finish eating, but I'm not hungry anymore. My stomach is in knots just thinking about the weirdness that's been going on tonight. I tell Dad goodnight, then Mel and I head up to my room for the night. We watch the movie we picked out upstairs in my room. Mel falls asleep towards the end of it, and once it's over, I turn off the TV, then the light, and slide beneath the covers. I'm exhausted, freaked out, and frankly, I'm tired of these damn dolls ruining my life. I wish Dad would just donate them or sell them to an antique shop or something. But he says that he doesn't want them to burden anyone else's life. I guess he doesn't care about mine. I can't wait until I turn 18. I'm going to move far, far away from here. I doze off thinking about it. I wake up during the middle of the night to the sound of my ballerina jewelry box playing music. I bolt upright in my bed and reach for the switch to the lamp on my bedside table. My heart starts racing because it needs to be open to play music, and I haven't opened it in years. The only reason I still have it is because my mom gave it to me for Christmas right before she died. Although it's kind of babyish, it reminds me of her. I finally find the switch and flick the light on. The music stops playing. I wipe the sleep from my eyes and glance around the room. There's no one there besides me and Melanie, who is still fast asleep in her sleeping bag on the floor. I call out her name. She doesn't reply, so I say it a little louder. She stirs, but her eyes remain closed, so I pull my foot from beneath the covers and nudge her in the shoulder with it. That finally wakes her. What? Is it time to get up already? No, I heard something. I woke up and music was playing from my jewelry box. She looks around the room, then says, "I didn't hear anything." She plops back down on her pillow and closes her eyes. Just as I'm reaching to turn off the light, she lets out an ear-piercing scream, jumps up, and hops into my bed. What? What is it? I saw something under the bed. My dad comes bursting into my room, and immediately I yell, "Mel saw something under the bed." He gives us a look like, "Really? Aren't you girls a little too old for this type of nonsense?" And I give him a look right back, like, "Aren't you going to check?" He kneels down and lifts my blanket. "Holy crap!" he shouts and leaps back up. What? What did you see?" He starts to laugh. Nothing. There's nothing under there. I toss a pillow at him and tell him to get out. Once he leaves, I get out of bed and check for myself. There's nothing under there except for some dirty clothes, shoes, and dust. I swear I saw something move under there, Sadie. I tell Mel that she can sleep in my bed with me. It's going to be a tight squeeze because I only have a full size, but we can make do. She takes me up on the offer and snuggles beneath the covers. I turn the light back off and lay there for a while in the darkness. Finally, I turn to Mel and ask her if she's still up, but she's already fast asleep. When I finally manage to doze back off, I'm awoken once again by the sound of footsteps walking down the hallway. I glimpse at my alarm clock, and the red numbers display the time, 4:20 a.m. I yawn and wonder what in the world Dad is doing up so late. Then I close my eyes and try to go back to sleep, but I can't. The footsteps keep getting louder, like they're coming closer, and then they fade away. Then I see a shadow walk right past my door. This happens numerous times before I finally realize I don't think it's Dad. But the footsteps sound familiar somehow, like I've heard them before. My breath catches in my throat when it hits me. The last time I heard those same footsteps was when I got locked inside of the coat closet when I was just a little girl. The footsteps belonged to Clementine. I lock my door, race back over to the bed, and violently shake Mel. "Wake up! Mel, wake up!" I think she can hear the panic in my voice because it doesn't take much to wake her this time. I think Clementine got out of her case. Her eyes become as big as saucers. "Stop playing around. Your dad already scared me once. Why would you try to do it again?" "I'm serious, Mel. I heard her walking around out there." Just then, the lights flicker, and a sinister giggle echoes throughout the room. Mel pulls the blanket tighter around her. Will she hurt us? I think she just wants to scare us, but I don't know. I walk back over to the door and place my ear back up against it. That's when I hear another door open somewhere down the hall. "Dad, is that you?" I hear another set of footsteps coming down the hall toward my room. I listen closely and hear two voices whispering back and forth. I can't make out what they're saying, and I don't recognize them either. Then the hallway floods with the sound of many more sets of footsteps. When they stop, I press my ear against the door as hard as I possibly can, but I hear nothing. So instead, I quietly lie down on the floor and peek through the crack under the door. "What are you doing?" Mel whispers from the bed. Just as I look up to respond, a sharp blade slides across the front of my fingers on my left hand and slices them open. I cry out in pain and hold my hand tightly as blood begins to seep from it. Mel begins to scream, a desperate, terrified scream. I frantically begin to bang on the door with my one good hand and scream at the top of my lungs for my dad. I get nervous when minutes go by and he doesn't come to my room or answer us. He's a heavy sleeper, but I don't know how anyone could sleep through our screams. When Mel starts to lose her voice, she tells me, "We can't stay locked in here." I motion for her to come over to the door with me. Then I open it just a crack and peek out into the hallway. I close the door. Mel doesn't like the look in my eye. What is it? I crack open the door again and let her peek out this time. "Well, we can just walk around them, can't we?" I nod my head. I guess we could try. We take each other by the hand and step out into the dark hallway. All of my dad's dolls are standing out here. We tiptoe down the hall, flick on the light, and then methodically begin to make our way around and through all of the dolls. They are all standing there, stone-faced, staring straight ahead. Mel accidentally bumps one with her leg, and we hold our breath as it teeter-totters back and forth before coming to rest on its feet again. "Be careful," I whisper. She mouths the word sorry, and then we continue to make our way through the dolls. When we get halfway through them, my heart nearly jumps out of my chest when they all just suddenly crash to the floor. Pieces of glass chip from their bodies and goes flying all over the living and dining room. I turn around to see that there is still one standing. Darwin is staring directly at us. His eyes match the way that I'm feeling right now at this very moment, dark and cold. The whites of them contrast sharply with the pitch-black irises that sink deeply into his head. They resemble that of a black hole in space, with an eeriness of unsettling coldness emanating from his gaze. But weren't his eyes blue before, I think to myself? Plastered across his face is an evil grin, and there are tiny drops of blood splattered all over his clothes. And lying on the floor directly at his feet is a knife. It snapped at the tip, but the rest still looks sharp. The handle is made of cheap black plastic, and it's covered in blood. Mel shouts, "There is no way this is happening." I reply, "Oh no, my dad." We race upstairs and dart down the hallway to my dad's room. I swear I hear something, but ignore it when Mel doesn't say anything. But then a second later, I hear it again, and then Mel asks, "What was that?" Whatever it is, it's coming from inside my dad's room. I slowly push his door open and hear it again, but louder this time.
Sadie, come here.
Someone whispers loudly in my ear. Then we hear really loud footsteps, like something big is running up the steps toward us. The only way to describe it is it sounds like a giant linebacker dressed in all their padded equipment is charging up the stairs after us. The sudden sound sends a jolt of adrenaline through my body, and my fight or flight senses kick in. but I can't even call it that. It's more of a flight or flight because the sound is so intensely terrifying. There's not a bit of fight left in me. I shove Mel into my dad's room and slam and lock the door behind us. We collapse against it, scared to death and out of breath. Then I notice my dad, lying on the bed face down. I stand up and flick on the light. As I race over to him, the light gets brighter and brighter to almost a blinding effect, and then the light bulb pops. I shake him and scream his name. Then I notice the blood-soaked sheets beneath him. My heart sinks as I realize there's way too much blood for him to still be alive. His body is caked in it, and there are knife cuts all over him in groups of 3s. I fall to the ground and burst into tears. Mel kneels down and tries to console me. That's when I catch a glimpse of a tiny hand. I grab a hold of it and yank her out from under the bed. It's Clementine. I'm so angry because I know that her and her little friends are the ones who must have killed my dad. I hold her tightly by both arms and violently shake her. Why did you do this? Why did you have to hurt him? Her head bobbles back and forth as I continue to shake her. I stare at her. What am I really expecting? It's not like she can answer me. I march over to the open window, knock out the screen, and toss her outside. I watch as she goes falling to the cold, hard ground below, barely missing the edge of the wooden pointed fence, which probably would have shattered her into a million pieces. I could only wish. We have to get the hell out of here, Mel says. Maybe we could climb out the window. I look at her like she's crazy. We're on the 3rd floor. Then I grab her hand and pull her over to the window. Look, there's a fence right there. What if we fall or don't land the right way? We could get impaled on that thing and kill ourselves. We argue about what to do next because she doesn't want to leave the room. We can't go back out there. I cautiously crack the door open anyway and stick my head out into the hall. When I see that it's empty, I start to creep out there. I whisper, "Come on." She shivers and backs away deeper into my dad's bedroom. "No, I can't, Sadie. I really can't." I freeze when out of the corner of my eye, my dad's bathroom door begins to slowly close. Then I spot Darwin hiding behind it. The more it closes, the more of his body I can see. When it almost closes all the way, his whole body is revealed, and that malevolent grin appears. It spreads from ear to ear, telling me that something very bad is about to happen. "Mel, get over here right now," I demand as I hold out my hand for her to grab. She's still too frightened to move, but she doesn't see what I see because she's facing me, wide-eyed and holding her ears closed in pure disbelief. "Mel!" I whisper again and point behind her. The same loud, thunderous footsteps that we heard right before we ran into my dad's room flood the house again. The bathroom door flings wide open, but before I can see what it is, the bedroom door slams right in my face, trapping Mel and I on opposite sides. She's screaming bloody murder, frantically banging on the other side of the door, causing it to rattle in its frame. I twist and turn the knob. It doesn't seem to be locked, but it just won't open. Then everything goes silent until I hear the sound of smashing glass. I rush to the window in the guest bedroom next door and nearly vomit when I see Mel. She's been impaled by one of the wooden fence posts. It went right through her face. I don't even recognize her. Fear runs through me when I realize that Clementine is gone. When I tossed her out the window, she landed in the grass right next to the bird bath in the front yard. I wipe the tears from my eyes and tiptoe across the room to the door. When I peer out into the hallway, I see only darkness and hear nothing but silence. So I creep out of the room and run back downstairs. As I make my way toward the front door to try to escape this nightmare, I hear the loud, thunderous, booming footsteps once more. I make a mad dash down the hallway past the coat closet and start to fumble with the locks on the front door. When the footsteps get louder, I realize I don't have enough time to get all of them open and I panic. I spin around and search for somewhere to hide. The coat closet is only a few feet away. When I reach it, the door is already open a crack, so I dart inside and quietly close it behind me. Then I start yanking down Dad's sweaters, coats, and vests from the hangers. I hide myself under them and hold my breath. Then the closet door opens, but it closes just as quickly. I want to peek out and see what's going on, but I don't dare. I feel like I've just gone for a dip in the pool on a hot summer day. My entire body is drenched in sweat.
Don't be scared, Sadie.
I freeze. It can't be. This can't be happening to me again.
I'll help you.
I keep hearing the footsteps now. They started upstairs and sounded angry, like someone searching for something or someone. Now they're stomping down the stairs. A faint strip of light is shining under the door, and I vaguely catch a glimpse of a little pair of feet. They're poking out from beneath the coats that I knocked to the floor on the other side of the closet.
You're my best friend, Sadie. Don't you remember?
The voice inside the closet asks. I close my eyes and huddle deeper beneath the coat I'm using as shelter. A loud crash down the hall causes me to jump. Then the footsteps start up again.
I promise I won't let him hurt you.
The genuine sincerity in Clementine's voice actually makes me feel a little better. But then I peek out of the clothes and don't see her feet anymore. I hear the booming footsteps heading back up the creaky stairs, and then I hear Clementine scream as if she's right next to my ear.
Run now, Sadie.
Putting all of my trust into her, and with all of the adrenaline I have left, I bust out of the closet, hearing the heavy thumps coming back down the stairs faster than ever. Suddenly, things start to feel like they are moving in slow motion as I see Clementine standing there in the hallway. As I look back while running towards the door, I see Darwin sitting on the steps. I make it to the door, and with one last glance back, the thumps sound like they are right behind me now. And I see Clementine burst into pieces, sending fragments of porcelain, stuffing, cotton, and shreds of her pale yellow dress flying everywhere. The door slams behind me as I run out of there, and I hear a big boom on the other side of it, like whatever it is trying to break through. I can't believe that this whole time, for all these years, ever since that incident when I got locked in the closet with Clementine when I was a little girl, I've been terrified to death of her. But I shouldn't have been. All she wanted to do was be my friend. She was really just trying to protect me. Darwin was really the evil one. She just saved my life. Goosebumps appear up and down my arms. I get them every time I think about what happened. That was 4 months ago. My Aunt Cheryl took me in after the incident. I've been diagnosed with depression and PTSD, but other than that, I'm doing okay. I'm about to graduate high school in a few more months, and I've already been accepted into numerous colleges. The police think that a psychotic murderer broke in that night and killed my dad and Melanie, but they don't know what I know. I've tried to tell them what happened, but they think I'm crazy. And my psychiatrist says that it's just the way my mind interprets the trauma that occurred. And in time, my mind will heal and I'll accept what really happened. But I know the real truth. I answer the door and my rambunctious 8-year-old cousin Sky comes charging inside. She just got off the school bus. She has a huge smile and she's holding something behind her back. What have you got there? Sadie, I made a new friend today. Oh yeah? Who? She pulls the object she was hiding behind her back out and holds it up for me to see. I jump back in alarm. Fear overwhelms me and I begin to cry. Staring back at me is Darwin, the doll that killed my father and best friend and who tried to kill me. What am I going to do? All I can think now is I don't think I'm going to survive this time because Clementine isn't here to save me. Don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.